Mike Suha.
Now.
It's a stroke at 6 o'clock. We're here for another evening, reviewing the town of Lakeville proposed FY 27 municipal budget. Thank you, everybody, for coming. With that, hand it over to David.
Yeah, welcome back. And then now it's tonight, even though I tried to get it last night. Fortunately for all of us, you won't have to listen to me talk quite as much tonight as you did on Tuesday. We're going to begin on page 18. Continue on page 18. The item that we didn't discuss the other evening was Veterans Park maintenance. And Rosie here, who's oversees with his committee, the Veterans Park, is here to tell you the request for FY 27.
I hope you're okay. So we're just looking for this year for $600, and that will take care of like flowers and the replacement flag if we need to do that. We don't need. We usually ask for 1,000, and in lieu of everything that's going on, I thought I'd try to help out a little bit, so we dropped it back at $400 from the usual thing to try to show an effort and helping out. I have $2,859 I'm gonna call it my account or in the account. That was money that was raised outside of taxes, and I have that to fall back on for repairs or for stuff that needs to be upgraded. I use that for my upgrade, more or less, is what I call it. But the $600 will like take care of. I'm hoping for the flowers and the replacement flag, and there isn't much. Any questions?
Yeah. How important is it that the sidewalk be shoveled on snow?
For me,
Yeah. Because does the town own the sidewalk? Who owns the sidewalk?
Town.
The town, okay. So I'm asking because I'm part of the snow shoveling crew for the library, and I'm always ready to go home just after we do really close around the library, and the leader of our group is Karen Prather. She's always, go do the sidewalk, and she chips right in there too, so we go do that. So I was just wondering, and because, you know, I got to worrying if somebody's walking along there and we didn't shovel the sidewalk and they go out on the road and they get hit or something. I mean, I would feel really bad that I was lazy and I couldn't do that, but the Veterans Park is just a very small part of that total sidewalk. So I was just wondering if the town has responsibility to keep snow off of sidewalks like Camden. Just what's the policy?
We do not have responsibility for that,
Yeah,
but it's certainly within the town's purview if it wished to do so.
yeah.
We don't remove snow from the sidewalks at the beach. We haven't removed it from here. We've certainly enjoyed the fruits of your labor. I know Mike was shoveling there for a while. And perhaps others.
Yeah, oh, lots of others, yeah. Okay, just asking, just to raise the issue.
Any other questions for Veteran Park? You're excused for 20 minutes. You can slide right over here. So that microphone, if you would. Up next, we're gonna flip the page 19, and look at your boards and committees. Gary Gulasian, the chair of the Lakes and Ponds Committee, is here to explain their requests and answer any questions you might have. Gary, you're on.
Thanks, David. It's good to see you all here this evening. Our budget request for this coming year is at the same level as the past year, $900, and it contains essentially the same elements. Our biggest potential expense is to do monitoring to determine where the problems might be coming from when we see high levels of E. coli bacteria at the Reservoir Park and at the town beach. The way we look at our budget is that our expenditures primarily go to town-related kinds of things rather than work on all of the lakes. So in this case, Reservoir Park is the town's property. We have a swimming beach there. We want to make sure that it's safe. And if there are problems that are found, we've got a way of trying to track down where those problems might be coming from. To the extent that the conditions are necessary for us to do that kind of monitoring, we've identified some other things that we potentially do and have done in the past. For example, the select board sent out letters to all all lakefront property owners when they're dealing with trying to reduce the blue styrofoam in docks and that kind of thing. And it's essentially the same as what we have in the past. And if you have any questions, I can respond.
Questions for Gary regarding lakes and ponds? Oh, Robin has one.
So it says we, again, because of the drought, I'm presuming that we didn't need to do this last summer.
Right. Those were actually pretty good last summer. I think part of because of the drought. Much of it washing off the bank.
So you didn't have to do any samples last summer, or do you like do something that doesn't cost the money to and free?
So we've got a really good working with Lake Kentucky Watershed Association, and they have a program to do weekly monitoring. And that weekly monitoring is usually done on Wednesdays. Two of the places that do the monitoring are at the swimming beach and then also at the culvert down by Breaks. And those have been hotspots in the past. And the way it works, and Susan is actually the one who does that monitoring in the association. She's both on the Lakes and Ponds Committee, but also works with Lake and Kentucky Association. And if on a Wednesday the results come back on Thursday and show that there's a problem, they go back on Friday to see whether that problem is persisting. And at that point in time, if there was a problem on Wednesday and we had some water coming in as well, that's when they would do this monitoring to try to figure out why we're seeing those elevated levels.
Great, thanks for the clarification.
Not to jump in the middle of this, and that's later tonight when we talked to Pat from the Gunnersbuck Watershed Association. Part of their rationale for asking for money is water sampling. that's the primary testers. And Gary and his group and his money, our money that they oversee. Is to take that a step further to try to see if we can identify where that's coming from so that we can not have it. So you will hear about water sampling or testing again and again and again tonight. I think.
What about the other ponds in town? Is there any oversight that your group does? Coleman?
The Lakes and Ponds Committee deals with all of the ponds in town. And we've got representatives from the watershed associations where there is a watershed association for those ponds. And the watershed associations primarily pay for the monitoring stuff. Although the Lake and Ponds Watershed Association take more routine within water. So in addition to we're also doing monitoring to see what trend year to year. Let us know on 40. So at a monthly meeting, we hear from each of the lakes of ponds, from some of the monitoring is showing, and then try to figure out follow up.
So this is neat, if you have a contamination that you would try to track it to the source. Do you have any stories around that? Have you done tracking or have the occasion in the past?
We've done baseline monitoring on the brook that goes underneath the culvert. So we know what levels we can expect at various points along the stream where it comes in. In the past, some of the highs have come at the time when we've been pretty rainfall, and the concerns that maybe that is helpful before we positive sometime about 12 years or so ago, there was some cattle there along the stream and but the source. The company farm there now with some water stuff here. So we can see what levels out of the upstream or downstream. So those are the kinds of things that there's also the possibility that some of the elevated levels could come from wildlife. There. And that might require some additional monitoring separate animal sources from human sources of water.
And you have enough money, you have that extra need of rises?
We don't know for sure. I guess it depends on what kind of monitoring we want to do. Some of that innate thing is more expensive than routine. So it's possible that we might have to come back to the select board to cover that. That's something we need to do.
Other? Run, Gary, run. Or you're welcome to stay. So you. Susan will slide you this way. Thank you, dear. You can have the microphone.
Gary.
Sliding over to the hot seat is Susan Silverio, the chair of our comprehensive plan review committee. We have a request for this year. Susan, all yours.
Thank you, everyone, for your service to our town. The comprehensive plan review committee has been a little bit delayed. We are now currently operating with a contract with Midcoast Council of Governments. They started the contract last April. There was a delay while the select board chose a few more members to create an ad hoc committee to attach to the standing committee. And then it took a little while to onboard new members and, you know, explain what a comprehensive plan was and why it's necessary and how we're gonna work together. So all that took a little time, and so we had a little delay, and that comes to the total of $2,300. Just to put it in perspective, when Midcoast Council of Governments was chosen for this contract, there were two of the candidates that came in at $90,000 for a year to complete the contract. Midcoast Council of Governments, it's not based on the bottom line, but they clearly proved themselves to be the best candidate. Their contract was $24,000 roughly. So this is still way less than what you would have paid for a private consulting firm.
Any questions for Susan? Comprehensive plan, where do we stand, what we're gonna do with the remaining monies?
Okay.
See?
All right.
Or free to stay the evening if you wish. We won't fault you. While we're still on page 19, I'll do the others that don't have representatives here tonight. Well, take that back. Select Board has people here tonight. But working down from the top of that page, Select Board, we do pay our Select Board members annual stipend of $1,300 each. The chair gets an additional stipend of $500. We pay FICA and Medicare and paid family leave, and we have a small fund for training if they choose to take it, or education if something comes up in the course of the year. They want to spend. Conservation Commission's not requesting any money. There is a carry forward at the bottom of the page. Long time ago, the Conservation Commission did some fundraising, raise monies. That's the remainder of that, and they spend tidbits of it every now and again. So that's why there's no requests. Planning Board is primarily training for planning board members if they wish to go to training put on such as by the Maine Municipal Association or some other agency for keeping them up to speed with the rules and the laws. We do also have a recording secretary for the planning board. That planning board is a quasi judicial board, and their minutes, and they need to have certain things for findings and decisions that the recording secretary takes care of. That is an hourly position, and it all depends on what comes through the door in terms of how many hours a year we need that service. And then we have a little bit of supply money for the planning board should we need to buy them books or other materials. We talked about lakes and ponds. We talked about comprehensive plan. Anybody have any questions regarding any of the boards and committees that I hopefully can follow through? Okay, seeing none. We're now going to turn the page to page 20, which is municipal support. We're going to jump around a little bit on these items. The Gary at some point can go home this evening if he chooses. The first is the cemetery trustees, of which you're the chair. Go.
Yes. So, I don't know if you're familiar, we did a review with the select board, back in December. We've done a lot of restoration on the, abandoned cemeteries in Lincolnville. The town of Lincolnville, as most of you know, owns no cemeteries. No cemeteries belong to the town of Lincolnville, but we are responsible for the abandoned cemeteries, and we have a number of abandoned cemeteries. And so we take care of a spring and fall cleanup, and We make sure that if they need to be mowed, that they're taken care of with that. We're also responsible, the town is responsible for, veterans flags. And we, I think we do something in the vicinity of, should have known that figure with me, but somewhere in the vicinity, I think of 600 flags in the town right now, veterans flags. And so what I've done here, and I did this year, is I have tried to help save some money. If there was a flag that didn't have a blemish on it, we're reusing them. We're reusing them from the last year, and that saves, because these flags went here a couple years ago, they skyrocketed. Like everything else in life, it's skyrocketed in price. The medallions that hold them are absolutely ridiculous. I'm thinking about they're like $14 a piece. And so if we can clean up some of the other ones and stuff, I try to save them, but sometimes they break in the back and they snap off, and so you have to throw them away and they have to be replaced. So the other thing is, so sorry, we've done immense amount of restoration work, and we need to continue to do that. We have the ability to taxpayers and descendants, thank you, that have passed along here in Lincoln Road, and we need to take care of those gravestones and those grave sites. And some of these sites are so far back in the woods that, very few people here know where they are. We have a Revolutionary War stone. If you walk right that way and kept walking right that way, eventually we come on. It's off the Poland Road. We're going to do the immense amount of work, and we finally got permission from the abutting landowners to do some work and cleaning them up. There's several people buried. So one stone. It's we got 250th anniversary coming, and that's something should come talk to the select about. Whether we can do town regular was going to be. But anyway, so we're asking for 10,000 this year, and when I say this year, don't forget I'm talking 2 years out. Basically, you go looking at 26 years out. So. And we got a lot of work to do on a lot of these cemeteries. So we're asking for 10,000. Any questions?
Is there, the taxpayers are supporting this, and some of these cemeteries, at least one, nobody even knows it's there, it's way back in the woods. Taxpayers should get something from that if they want to go tour, and so does the Historical Society have some sort of
Historical
Your voice.
Cemetery, the Historical Society has listed all of these are listed with the Historical Society.
and like the names of people and any history, so it's interesting to.
There's a little, you take your phone, if you can look on your phone, there's little cue cards, SKU cards, or what do you call them?
At the cemeteries.
At the cemetery. Except for, there's not one on private, when it's on private property, like this one down here, it's not there, but there's a record of it at the Historical Society. And if anybody has a desire, I'm also a member of the Historical Society, or they can call the town. And if you have an interest to go I'd be glad to take any one of you, any one of these cemeteries. I suggest that it's not when there's snow. Right. Because you can't see the other graves that are there. The many different and many stones, different stones. And you can't see those when they're buried in the snow. But the one down here that we're gonna be working on, we just did the Ferris Cemetery up off the Green Acre Road on Back Norwood Road. It's out was, you know, and there's 3 stones and we just had a chain put up on the head 4 concrete markers and we had an individual donate the chain to go and put the chain back on the horse because the chain's been disappeared for as long as I can remember.
Well, yeah, so at the library, you guys have a big map, right? You worked on the
Yes.
map. Maybe it would be nice to have a little sign near the map or one of the huts and just say what you just told me.
I'll carry that to this road.
Yeah, and people might do it.
Rosie,
Yes,
10,000's quite a good piece of change. Can you describe the nature of the restoration work that's being done?
oh, well, the stones are broken, a lot of them, they tipped over, but then they've been laying, some of them been laying down for 40 years or plus. And we've righted like Fletcher Cemetery on High Street. It's been all been straightened up, all the footstones have been straightened. All the stones have been cleaned. That we have to pay for that. There's no volunteer for that.
So you have professionals doing the cleaning?
We do.
Yeah.
We do. Yep. We do.
Rosie,
Yes,
can you describe to me what you mean by $1,500 in extras?
I think part of that was kind of used, like last year, he kind of tried to break down like, well. What he spent the amount on and like kind of what things come in as. So I think I kind of adjusted that, like the extras, they take the boxes off Fletcher and put them back
Oh, yes.
on. Just kind of like. Chuck new tape stuff like that, I put in there.
Okay.
So that didn't necessarily, I think that was
okay,
by trying to
yeah,
explain when things were going.
If you didn't understand what Kate was talking code when she started
Oh.
boxes that are going to. Fletcher Cemetery is adjacent to High Street. There's what? 4 or 6 stones that are,
right.
a lot of the stones are very close to the road. And a number of years ago, in order to minimize the likelihood of damage to those stones. Wooden boxes were constructed, they go over the stones in the fall, and they get staked back to provide some
So,
protection. Get the roof and frame.
and it helps keep the snow plow over and you
Yeah.
can see the box. The other thing, we have the maintenance, costs us several $1,000s a year to mow and to do the pickup, you know, clean up. A lot of branches come down and stuff like that. Absolutely, if the tree falls in the cemetery, then that's gotta be cleaned up and the debris has to be removed. We just added another thing, we added, 4 more cemeteries this year. I wanted to make sure that we have a company called Breakwaters, that do our maintenance thing, and I went around with them, and they're going to, there's no mowing in this because, but they're covered with leaves, debris and stuff, and so they're going in this year, both before Memorial Day and before Veterans Day, and they're going to leaf blow and clean up that area. And that's a little bit more than years past. We had some stuff to that. Yeah, well,
I did, well, I thought you said at the end of your initial talk, and this is for 26 and 27, and I don't understand what you mean by that.
Well,
I think he's. It's challenging at times to estimate what the expenses are gonna be. For half a year next summer, let's put it that way. He thinks it's 2 years, but it's not, it's 18 months, but really it's still only 12-month budget.
Okay,
He gets caught, I mean.
because it's like,
You know, the
You know-
maintenance season in the cemetery really is, May to October,
right,
but that doesn't line up with our.
Right, well, 'cause- right, because there's still, I mean, it looks like we've only spent about half of this year's
Yeah.
budget so far this, right, right, but I just meant, right, so this 10,000 is picking up from July first,
Yes,
right? Okay,
Any other questions? Yes,
Yeah, Rosa, do you have any plans with the commission? Have any plans of joining any statewide associations? If so, do you have an idea what that might cost?
So there's, the main obsolete.
old cemetery.
Old cemeteries.
Mocha.
Mocha. Good luck. If anybody here around this table can get anybody to respond to them, I've got top-notch people on this committee. Jane Hardy, Kim Clark, Sandy Lehman, Pat Shannon, each individual, one of those individuals said, "Oh, I'll get them to respond to me." And we cannot. Each one of them over the last 2-3 years have tried to do something with the association. They will not respond either by phone call or email or text. But anyway, the other thing I could do is probably find out who the director was. Why didn't she respond to me?
They may no longer be with us.
Well, that could be.
yeah,
So, I don't think, but that's.
I was curious.
Yeah. We would, if there was any opportunity, we said. I think we. Cemeteries are out of line unless something happens. Here, I will say, I got the greatest committee to work with this town has ever seen. They're Johnny on the spot.
Thanks.
Any other questions regarding cemeteries for Mr. Gary? He single-handedly got us back on schedule. We were ahead.
Tell them that.
But we got back on schedule because we were ahead.
We were.
In other words, his laryngitis didn't work. So now we're going to continue with Mr. Gary and talk about Memorial Day, because he's the chair of that committee as well too. You're up.
So, Memorial Day, I've got that, it's usually 1,300, I've got that to 1,075. Trying to help out, do a little bit, give them a little penny help. It's still going to cost us for the medallions and the flags. I'm still figuring around $600 for those flags and stuff, and I'm sure an insurance company might have, but things could happen like what happened in the town of Camden here just recently, where someone went in and cleaned the entire cemetery, all the flags and all the medallions, everything was taken, and vandals took everyone. Some of them go back to the Civil War and stuff. And we did recover. We did recover. Yeah, so thank you for that. But that could happen to the week ago too, and we need, I will be sure she might take.
I don't know either, but that venturing a little bit away from Memorial Day.
It's the same thing, Memorial Day, here we go. So anyway, the wreaths Looks like they, when I call, they're gonna stay the same. No change on that, so anyway, $1,075.
Anyone have any questions regarding the Memorial Day? What day is that this year? Last Monday.
Monday.
Hey.
And you're gonna step off at what time?
That has to be determined, sorry. Because
Because we have to wait about that.
we have to wait to see what the high school is.
Other Memorial Day question. So I followed up a message with the president of the Historical Society. Well, we're gonna move on to Historical Society. We're ahead of the schedule a little bit. Thank you for getting us ahead of schedule this time. And Historical Society, you want to do that, if you want to kill me.
Shot in the dark.
Yep. You can provide this, but- So, Mr. Gary is on the board of directors for the Historical Society, and since the president is not here, he's going to pinch it.
So we're asking for $2,000. I don't know if any of you have been to the Historical Society recently, but it really, the building is an amazing what's happened there. And there's lots of programs, the membership. We've got a really, I don't have, I'm sure Diane had it, but I know Dawn's been ill, so I don't know whether she's been running back and forth to Portland, but she didn't call me. So they've raised a lot of money. In the past, we've done very well with donations and stuff, but even though it's not a town facility, it's the town of Lincolnville's Historical Society, regardless of it. So I think 2,000 is a fair and reasonable number to ask for that, and I can't even read the thing down here. I'm flying.
That's all right.
Yeah.
That I noticed when I was entering the budget, it looks like the library is no longer gonna be able to contribute to their electricity.
That's right.
And it looks like they have a pretty big project that they're planning with the climate control storeroom with heat pump.
That's about done. So that's a big, that's a big project.
All at 126.
So the library was covering the electricity
Yes.
through their, what they were making on their heat, on their
Solar.
solar.
For years.
Okay.
We had many years.
Yep.
8.
For some reason, they've got nothing in their budget last year for insurance.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask about.
What's that?
Insurance, there's no
Yeah.
listed insurance for this year, for 2026, current year.
Hmm.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you sort of thrown into this.
No, but
Well, maybe we could follow up with an email regarding,
Yeah. If you wanna know about the insurance.
I'm also curious about what reserves the Historical Society has in terms of, you know, their fundraising and et cetera.
we'll get some additional information.
Historically, what percentage of their budget is the town contributed and what percentage are they looking for of their budget for the 27 year?
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I
Yes.
probably shouldn't.
You did.
Glad you're here.
Anything else we can look up, inquire of the Historical Society or that here for this program? Service.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
You did well. I like that they got water out there. They have a-
Yeah, I don't really understand
That's all.
that.
So-
Yeah, yeah, it would be nice to have an explanation. What does this mean?
Roll into the, on deck.
This one for you.
Hello.
This is Pat, and I will butcher his last name.
Beeling.
Beeling, thank you. The Gunville Watershed Association. And we're still on page 20. Font's really small, so don't bother to read it, because Pat's gonna know it all and tell it all to you. The floor is yours.
Well, I hope you had a chance to review the letter. You've consistently been generous in supporting the work that we do for the pond and the lake, and we typically asked for $4,500 on an annual basis, and we granted that. We bumped it up a little this year, $600 because our fees for the water quality testing. We did increase in it. I'm happy to go over what we spend it on, but it's pretty much laid out there, and it's mostly the water quality testing that we do. In one pond and the lake. But we do all sorts of other things, working with the town, Camden, and dam operations, and trying to optimize lake levels and farm levels a little better. We're going to do it. It is mentioned in here, I wonder what you have to use in case you start getting calls. We're going to do a water kit survey in the spring. It's May 1st and 2nd, and that entails us sending letters to property owners, obtaining their permission to come onto the property and sending the properties shoreline for erosion and things that could potentially have runoff problems that affect the water quality. And that's the first step in our comprehensive plan to try to just maintain water quality. And keep it. So it's an updated similar study we did back in 2006.
So all your water quality testing, I think it would be interesting to see your data over the years, see if there's trends. So do you have a report?
Sure, we actually, you can see the data. It's let's see, is it on the town website? It may be there, it should be, it's on our website. Okay, we submit that data to the state of naming database.
And do they have some plots so you can see trends and?
Yeah, it's all kind of the basic water quality data. Phosphorus is always an issue that we're concerned about because high phosphorus levels can lead to algae blooms and poor water quality that way. Water turbidity and clarity is always something we look at. Dissolved oxygen and several other things. That's something that sure it should be on our website. It's not. Should be. The state name website. You just do a search for Lake November water quality. Okay.
Okay.
And we have data there for.
Just one other question aside. So I guess I noticed the water is pretty low. And is it historically low, or is it just me not noticing in years past?
So I can give you the 5-minute answer or the 3-hour answer.
5 minutes.
Yeah, so basically, the town of Camden operates Eastern Dam, sets the water levels in the lake. In the around Labor Day, They, as part of the operating procedures, they lower the water 2 feet minimum below the spill, which is where the water spills over the pavements. In order to have capacity to hold the runoff from the watershed from a very large hurricane. So the easiest way to put it is that the water can't get out of, in under its current configuration, the water can't get out of east and west dam fast enough if you were to get like a 5, 6, 7, 8 inch rain over the course of a day or two. So what they do is they treat the lake and ponds as a big bowl, and it catches that water, and then it's released slowly into the river from the dam. So that is operationally what they do, which is one of those. Also, when we have droughts, there's no other sources of water into the lake and the pond other than runoff from the tributaries in the watershed. So we've had over the past year a fair historic drought since it's too extreme, but it's been a significant. And that's what led to the water levels being low. But I will tell you, Labor Day on, the water levels are intentionally okay. So just looking forward, because I live on, what we're trying, as you probably know, there's planned improvements, various dams and operation things through the river. We're trying to make sure that they include operational improvements to these whole dams to allow them to lower the water, control the flows out at a rate at which they won't need to artificially, they won't need to use the lake as a whole. That's not what they're doing. And that's in their long-term plan and long-term is.
Okay, maybe I didn't hear you when you first started, but could we confirm who they is?
The town of Camden
A lot of okay.
Operates, owns, and operates all of the dams in the Montgomery River, including the East.
Okay.
I'm with Montgomery Watershed Association. Half of the watershed, 33 square miles, that feeds the lake upon the rivers is in Camden. 45% is in Greenville, and and so but the water levels in the lake are controlled by the operation of East West Dam. And that's the typing.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Sandy, yeah. Is there a place that one could go to find out what the program is and the direction for the species that are in Gunnycook Lake and the watershed? I'm seeing some odd things. I'm trying to look at going ice fishing and no taking of trout, and now smallmouth bass are an invasive species, which to me sounds not making any sense.
So I'm not a fish expert, but I will say trout, the environment in the lake and the pond are not great for trout. They so when they stop them, they don't tend to proliferate well. I hadn't heard that they're putting limits.
No taking of trout, and
No,
there's
okay.
on the signs at the boat launch.
Excuse me,
There's
this is
smallmouth.
totally off topic.
Yeah.
This is not budget at all, so we just need to keep.
Yeah,
it
that's
down.
what
I'm not
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
happy to answer questions.
Yeah, I understand that. We need to stay on budget. Yeah.
Fascinating, but
It's useful because we're giving them money. So I'd like to hear a little bit of what.
But what fish are going on is nothing to do with just, yeah,
Okay.
just need to stay on budget.
Any other on topic questions for that about the water association, what they do, how they spend this money, how they spend a little bit of the
Which is appreciated.
You're welcome. Yes, then you free to depart for a day till we whatever turn.
There might be many more questions. I gotta go. Thank you.
Fair enough.
Thank you very much.
yeah.
We're doing.
I didn't know that either.
So next up is still on municipal support, page 20, is the Lincolnville Community Library. And there are a number of representatives here. I'll introduce Christina. And she is.
I'm the director of the library. Is works with our budget, and she's probably all in Barbara, she's on our board also. So I'm well supported with my family here. But thank you for your support that you've given the library. We appreciate every penny that we receive, and the community has been generous with their donations. We have a couple of criteria that the library operates under. One of which is to be a member of the Maine State Library, which provides us with wonderful services. They provide our internet, a phone. Interlibrary alone, we have 5,000 volumes and other DVDs, etc. In our collection, we borrow from them several hundred books each year. So they are completely augmenting our collection. And they provide the e-library services, which would be ebooks and audiobooks, and use digital Maine online resources, which includes things like repair manuals for cars, newspapers, ancestry research. To get that support from the Maine State Library, we are required to receive money from our town, and we appreciate your helping with that so that we can provide the services to the town. Secondary, then we need to also have a paid staff member. I'm the only staff member, only person who's paid. Everybody else who works in the library is a volunteer. So we've met those two requirements, and the town's helping to pay for that, as well as all of the upkeep and operations of the library. We don't charge for any services that we provide the community. And we're also required by the state to file an annual report, which we're working on right now. It's due April 1st, and it includes statistics of all students. We have to count the number of people who come, the number of books that go out with children and adults, any questions that we answer, those reference questions. Any programs, and the people who are there. This is required by the state to keep our certification, and not for profit also. So putting dollars to donuts, they also, with this report that we provide them, give us a monetary value of all of those services, which if you think about the letter that I provided with our budget, talks about return on investment. And when I figured all of that out, I see that for every dollar that the town gives us, there's about $55 worth of services that are provided to the community for that $1. And the town helps us to do all of that. We like to think of ourselves as a part of the community. The center is becoming very vibrant. We have lots of new people in town. One of the first places they come is the library. And so we get a chance to meet all those people. And we also get to see the fun things that go on in the library, because we have lots of young families who come with small children for together. The program goes from 10 to 10:30, but the parents and the children stay until almost noon because they're networking. They're getting to know each other and provide information for each other. And a lot of friendships that develop there. So we appreciate the money that you provide, and we thank you for that. And
Question, Robin.
I'm either having a really serious mind cramp, but why is the employee's piece of withholding included in your expenses?
that is just keeping track of, keeping track of all the expenses that are required to run the library. So that comes out of the money that we receive, the donations or the grant. Has to, pay for that because that's part, it's an expense.
I'm confused. But, I mean, the employer pays like half of the FICA, but then, and isn't that the line that's right above there, but
Yeah.
the employees piece. I mean,
I pay that.
I'm confused.
That's true, yes.
It's shown on the expenses, but it's not shown as
On the revenue,
quote-unquote revenue.
right, as like an offset or something, you know what I mean? It's not really
Right.
an expense.
May very well be, since it's the same number, it may,
But-
may very well be net payroll. Not,
No, it's an expense, but they're not showing that they take it out of Christina's.
Let me just-
right,
Any incoming revenue,
right.
one sided.
The number seems different too. If we only, the payroll's 12.5. But
That's because we gave Christina a raise.
right,
Right.
but the FICA and Social Security are 7.65%, and that only comes out to $956 for the employer share. That's all. I'm just,
Yes, no, these are,
so,
and, I'm not sure, Jim is the one who kind of puts these figures together, and I would have to see where that comes from, and we'll have a discussion about this and
But-
see whether maybe we should take the employee taxes out of the budget.
just a clarification too, that what we're seeing here is a 25 and 26 budget, and you're on calendar year or,
Yes.
okay, we're not seeing anything projected for 27.
Why? Am I? Is this the 27 budget we're talking about?
It's
Okay,
the town's fiscal year 27 budget,
yeah,
which starts July 1, goes through
Right.
June 30. But we would make our contribution to the library in October, November-ish of 26. Yeah, and
okay.
their budget year and our year don't necessarily line up. We're not asking you to change it.
That's good.
Yeah. Other library questions?
ooh, well, I do, you mentioned that the library wasn't able to help Historical Society with their electricity. So the solar array is still covering the library's electricity?
Most of the time it is. We lost a whole month of solar. Because we had a glitch with the electronics up there.
Been there.
And took a month to get that straightened out. But you would know, as to whether or not we're not paying much for the electric for us. No, there's an agreement between the library and the Historical Society. So, when we produce more electricity than we can use, that goes to the Historical Society. So that hasn't changed, but when our system is not working properly, then we don't have access.
So the Historical Society in their budget, they say the library is no longer able to contribute.
Well, that's not true, because that's the agreement is still in effect.
It's just the
We have some other
glitch.
questions for them as well, so we'll
Right,
know that
yeah.
after.
It'll be good news, right?
They have been based on this.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just a comment, your inverter, well, you had some problem, right? This was the right time to have a problem, right? Days are
Now.
short, sun is low in the sky, and you probably took a very small hit for that, for the year. Anyway, just a comment.
There are no other questions. You will let the library folks. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
James. Good thing you came early. We're still on page 20. This is James Rossi, the president of the Lincolnville Improvement Association. Is going to explain their request, knowing what you already have in your bag. Or maybe the same thing.
Well, I've heard the same thing. Remember, it's not as good as it used to be. I wish I could say I can remember this whole thing. Read it to you. But many of you may know that the Lincolnville Improvement Association has been working on projects to benefit Lincolnville. We've been doing this for years. I might add that we're just entering my second year being. So I've had some ground to cover. I've had to look at how things were done, how things were organized, how funds were distributed in the past. And primarily, it appears to me that we did a lot of appropriations for scholarships for Lincolnville students, which is a great thing. But last year, we began to notice, and this was due to a number of factors, primarily that there were other needs in Lincolnville, in addition to the scholarships. Last year, we were able to give 5 scholarships to the deserving students, $1,500 each. And we have heard back from some of those students. Some of them are a little nervous that they haven't received their money yet. But that's because they have to meet their first semester and then come back with grade score that at least the C average to be able to receive their scholarship. So that's how those work. But getting back to what we were trying to do is we recognize also that there were other needs within the town. And I'm very happy to say that we were able to meet a lot of those needs. One in particular was providing some Thanksgiving assistance to 12 families that needed it. No one in my mind should go without decent Thanksgiving holiday. So we were able to do that. I'm hoping again that we can do that this year as well. We were also able to provide funding for the Grange to help them with their driveway repairs and expansion. We were happy to do that. And it was those kinds of things that we were looking at, the local needs. The beach Christmas bonfire, we were able to make a contribution for that as well, because that's a very old tradition in Lincoln, and a very good one. We were happy to be able to do that. What we're trying to do now, what our focus is to try and grow the organization. We're not getting any younger. Many of the members are my age or around my age, and we all recognize that. And we need to get some of the younger people involved so that this can continue. And my understanding that the organization in some form has been around since 1916. But the actual formation of the group was in the 40s. One of the things I'd like to do this year with this appropriating, what we would like to do is, we discovered that this brochure that we have used for fundraising, and that's what our focus is to continue to fundraise so that we can continue to be philanthropic. This is about, I don't know, 15, 18 years old. I'll pass it around if anyone wants to look at it. But it's something that we'd like to totally revamp so that we can use it as a fundraising tool. We have a lot of tourists. You'd be surprised. The Wingding, Blueberry Wingding, which you all know, is our largest fundraiser. We did exceptionally well this year running that. And there are a lot of tourists that come to it, and they enjoy it. And many of them will actually keep the organization on that day, in addition to whatever they're paying for their candidates. So what we'd like to do is to be able to have something for people with. So that come December, when they're looking to make a donation to someone other than what they've already done in that season, they have that, that's a reminder, we'll tell them how to reach us, how to get to us. Also, a newer brochure from Bunking as a member. So if we want to send this to new families or get this out to the community, we'd be able to do that. We don't have that ability now with that. In fact, I had to really scrounge around in a room to find one of those. So that's how long it's been since we've done one. So we'd like to do that. And then the other thing that we'd like to do with our appropriation is we've taken on the seasonal decorations to New Palm because the folks that were doing it earlier were paying for it out of their own pockets. And we thought that we could do that. We also want to take on some of the beautification of the Veterans Memorial. And that always requires things. The library as well, we actually work with some of the library staff that does their work also. Because the trail leads right by it. Reesmere Park is another. Of course, we'll continue and expand the work we've done down at the beach with all the plantings there. And of course, the Christmas tree, which is very interesting this year for me. Getting someone to get the lights up there, number one. The number two, going there and trying to figure out how many lights we need. And I went under the tree and I looked up only to discover that there were already lights there, which some worked and some didn't. Extension cord and a lamp, which didn't make my life very happy. But I was able to come in and figure out what we needed and what we did. I thank the town because the town has contributed to providing lights for that tree in the past. And we've been using that for the Christmas tree. So that's what we'd like to do moving forward. We hope to have your support for that. And for the board, I would like to thank you all for your support. It's much appreciated. Thank you.
What's the approximate total budget of LA?
Well, right now we have about, as of 9/18, Steve, if I can touch. I don't have my financial folder, but I have this folder. We had $45,000 in our payment. But that's before, you know, the scholarships and everything come after the fact. And we're still in the midst of trying to hire a college student from last year's proposal so that they could be the EIA ambassador and work with us on the website and other things. But that's what we
It'd be good to understand what the just the annual budget, if you're on an annual basis or whatever basis you're on, whatever your annual
sure
what operating budget is. I'm gonna assume that your checkbook balance probably is not the same as your annual budget. So.
it ebbs and flows, and it's always changing because one of the things you may or may not know is that we do sell merchandise as for fundraising purposes. So we'll buy a lot of hats and things like that, baseball caps, and this year we did the woolen pullovers because a lot of men were asking for them. And then we'll sell them in local shops. But you know, I mean, those are used and drafts. I think I put $20 in checks and then have to go deposit that. But then I might be writing for scholarship or a donation position. So yes, we do that.
James, I haven't seen your brochure, but when you make a new one, I'll just refer to, like, Rosie Gary was just here, and one of the things he talked about was cemeteries. And that there's QR codes at the cemeteries and you can like have a self-guided tour. So, do you put those sort of things in your brochure, or could you also, that's historical society material, but it kind of enriches your.
Yeah, what I neglected to mention, and some of you may be saying, well, that's a lot of money for a brochure, but I would like to do this professionally because when it's homespun, in my opinion. I mean, somebody probably worked really hard on that, I'm not saying they didn't, but when it has a homespun look, there's a likelihood that someone's just gonna take it and, you know, put it with the newspapers and everything else. I want somebody to really read it and find out what we're about, what we do, and not only how they can help us, but we might be able to help them. I think that's important.
Other questions for James? You're not supposed to be here for 5 more minutes.
That's fine.
It's just a minute. Okay. All right, yeah.
He's feeling very smug, I think.
You can grab your brochure or whatever, works its way around. We'll let you.
But thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, James.
Thank you.
All right, continuing on that page, we're already there. The next item is general assistance. And Kayla is the general assistance guru. And she's going to explain to you the requests.
So this year, last year I made a pretty significant jump in the general assistance budget. This year I kept it the same. Last year we had quite a few requests. This year I really haven't had anything yet. I think I haven't had one level requests so far this year. So, you never know, but it seems to be enough to cover what we need. So.
Maybe for the benefit of some people that may not be familiar with general assistance, you could explain just a little bit about the program.
So general assistance is a partially state funded program and one that we're required to have. There is an application process that the applicant has to fill out. Sit down and review it with them. That's what the situation, there are income guidelines that the state provides, but there are certain emergency situations where we can go outside of the income guidelines. The state does reimburse us at 70% of what we spend. It is also one that we are able to overspend if needed without taxpayer approval. So, we try to budget enough to cover it, but kind of one of those, you don't know what's gonna happen. When heating oil prices go really high, I tend to get more heating requests than for a while. I was getting a lot more housing requests, but I think it's settling out a little bit.
Question regarding the general assistance. Okay, good job. I'll cover the rest of municipal support. The Historical Society working, moderator and ballot clerks. We have to have a moderator for every town meeting that we have. We offer the moderator a small stipend to moderate the meeting if they so choose, and we pay them. Ballot clerks, we have a number of ballot clerks or election clerks, and we offer those folks the option to either volunteer or be paid minimum wage. Some choose to be paid, some choose to volunteer. For those that get paid, we put a little bit of money in the budget for that. Registrar of voters is strictly supplies. Our current registrar of voters is also the deputy clerk here as part of the administrative assistance role. Compensated elsewhere, but there are certain things for voter registration cards and that type of stuff that we have to buy. Registered voters. Anybody have any questions about moderators, ballot clerks, registrar of voters? Anybody have any questions regarding municipal support? Turn to very quickly to page 23, which has provider agencies. And as the budget committee knows, the budget committee gets first crack at reviewing all those and makes their recommendations. And once you make your recommendations, we'll put them in here and provide them to the select board. for their consideration. Since you, budget committee's not done, the select board can't do anything. I can't tell you anything about these agencies because I don't listen.
When's that meeting going? When is
Evening.
your meeting? Okay. Thank you.
So I don't even think I'm gonna ask if anybody has any questions about the provider agencies, because I don't think I can answer them. So we'll turn the page 24 and talk about the capital improvement program. This is a generalized category where we put items that are really kind of beyond minor maintenance, or if they're actually to improve our capital equipment. For example, the fire truck fund, which is the first, we request $50,000. Last year we requested 40, and the year before was 30. We're looking at our next truck probably costing somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 million. We have 4 primary firefighting vehicles. We would keep them 30 years on average. Might go 31, might be 29, depending on what we order. We are very fortunate that the Lincolnville Community Foundation has made a number of donations to the town that we, for the specific purpose of fire truck, saving towards it. But still, the balance at the end of January was a little over $427,000. Halfway home. We have a couple more years to go, so. Yeah, exactly. Wow, it was a good statement.
Nice.
Yeah, Robin.
If we're split with Community Foundation, does this money reflect their contributions? Oh, okay. And we're 2 years away from?
We're probably more than 2 years away, only because you'll have to order it and wait a year to get it. And they haven't started on the specification, although you'll recall from the report, they said basically they're looking to replace. They want to get the equivalent of one of the trucks they already have to replace the next one they don't replace. As a primary response vehicle. We also need a place to house it.
So is 50, well, I guess we're not here to ask that question, but.
Is it enough?
Yeah, I mean, it
No.
sounds like it should be 100, but.
Well, that'll be a good discussion and debate as we move forward.
Right.
For you folks, and then
Okay.
recommended it on the budget. Anybody have any more questions about the fire truck, Joe?
Yeah, so every 7 years, did you say?
7.5 roughly.
So can you make it 8.5 or 9, or would that be, you might discuss that?
The last one, I think it turned out to be 8.5 or 9 because it took so long that after we ordered the truck to actually receive the truck.
I see.
But could we maybe? I don't know, I'm not a fire truck expert. The plan, the program had been that we keep them 30.
Yeah.
Okay. But if we stretch the 31.5 maybe.
Well, I tend to think we should also keep in mind that there are new rules that are proposed by OSHA to require more frequent replacements of fire trucks. So the schedule right here may sound good right now, but in 5 years, you may find it woefully inadequate.
Fair statement. There are always people, I'm not gonna look at the state rep when I said that, in Augusta or Washington DC, that think that they understand what goes on locally better than local people. And make rules that we all live by.
And those rules are coming out from DC, by the way, not Augusta.
Yes, in that sense, yes, you're correct. But Augusta couldn't possibly do that if they wanted to. Don't take that suggestion back. Road improvement program. We have about 7.9 miles of gravel road and 26.5 of paved road. Obviously, intent of the appropriation is to set aside monies to upgrade the roads to a better standard for safety and over travel. This year, you might be familiar with, in 26, we replaced the large box culvert on Youngtown Road. We were fortunate that we were able to get a grant that covered a good portion of that cost, but that's not always available. The year we're currently, fiscal year we're currently in, last year's budget that got approved by the voters, we're looking to upgrade the Morton Road from gravel to paved road. That project is in essence underway. We've removed trees from the side of the road and brush and whatever else. We've got gravel stockpiled in there, and we're just waiting for spring to arrive and frost to leave, and we'll undertake that project. In upcoming projects, we're looking at replacement of large drainage structures again on the Youngtown Road and at High Street. Youngtown Road, for anybody that experienced it in the spring, at Minnow Brook. We had a failure. There are 2 pipes there, but it went in at the same time. The one over here that fortunately for us handled drainage water from the ditches failed. Hole opened up in the road. We patched it. We tried to milk it along unsuccessfully, I'll say it. So we replaced that one. Why I say fortunate is because it didn't handle, unless there's a large overflow, didn't handle the water from Minnow Brook. But the culvert that handles the water from Minnow Brook went in at the same time. Minnow Brook is a brook that has minnows in it and other fish. We'll be required to do something a little more fish friendly than what we did for the other culvert we replaced there, which will be expensive. And the hope, dream, and aspiration is obviously to replace these structures, 5 minutes before they fail. We can't always estimate that, and our internal goal had been to replace all of the culverts that needed replacement under Youngtown Road before that road resurfaced again here. 4 years, 5 years, 4, in a few years down the road.
So the Minnow Brook thing needs to be that Stream Smart
Yes.
thing, and maybe another grant opportunity.
We will definitely be pursuing grant opportunities for any and all of this work that we can find, whether it be a fire truck. There are some grant money that came from fire trucks. And certainly for the culvert improvements. My understanding is that there is not a proposal that's been approved to do more stream crossing grants, but there are some climate resiliency program there's a grant out actually as we speak that we'll be applying for soon. But
Can I also ask,
Yep.
is the High Street culvert the one that's on the Hope side of Moody Mountain Road intersection, kind of that curve where it got all flooded
no,
last year? Oh,
High Street will either be the outlet from Levenseller Pond, or there's one in the hollow between Tom Jamrock's and Bill Dickey's.
Right.
I had that hollow on the spot.
mm,
Well,
Over the hill.
one just
I
beyond
think.
Bill Dickey's,
Right.
down in the,
Bill Dickey's, yeah, no, it is between Tom. and Bill,
yeah, down in the
Yeah.
bottom of the hole there.
Right.
Both of those are streams. Classified.
So it's another Stream Smart thing.
We'll use
that we
those
have to do.
principles. It may not be as extensive as a project as what we did for Hardy Brook. There are many different ways to comply with this Stream Smart principles. You could put in a bigger culvert and bury it and fill it full of dirt, which seems kind of foolish, but the goal behind that is to have a not only fish-friendly passage, but they're trying to mimic a natural stream inside a drainage structure. So if you look at what we did at Slab City Road at the Alta Coleman Pond, Townhouse Road had all sorts of failures. Hardy Brook, those, if you look down inside those structures, they have a natural water. And then on the very sides of them, you're actually, for the vast majority of the time, you're actually out of the water because certain animals, critters, whatever, travel along the streams, but they don't go in the streams unless they want to get something. But they're able to pass through there without going up over the road. So that's where we're looking. Solar array equipment is, we have some equipment that solar array that's electronic. We've been setting aside money for a couple of years for replacements. We actually just had a failure not long ago of a couple $1,000 meter that we're in the process of having replaced. So we're trying to be prepared for when and if something occurs there, so we can get that back online as the library experience. Got a harbor improvements. We had an annual inspection of the fish pier with the municipal pier, and the recommendation was that we replace the cross bracing on that structure. We have talked to a vendor to get a budget estimate, and then we rounded it up to $90,000. Yes.
What's our harbor savings balance?
He was gonna tell me that they get wasted off the page. I think we're somewhere around $100,000.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you didn't understand the question, we have funds from either leftover harbor budget. So the fire department and the harbor accounts, town meeting long ago said anything that was left in those accounts at the end of the fiscal year didn't go back into unassigned fund balance, but went into a savings account. So if we have money left over in the fire department, it goes into the fire truck reserve. If we have money left over in the harbor account, it goes into the harbor savings account. It's not really a savings account, but that's what we call it. And then in addition to that, for the harbor, if we have excess excise tax money, 1/2 of that, right, goes into the harbor savings account. I think on the theory that roughly half the excise tax came from in the harbor. We do appropriate some money, and we'll talk about that a little later, from boat excise tax to help reduce property taxes. So lately, you asked what the current balance of the harbor savings was, and neither Kayla and I knew that off the cuff. We think it's somewhere around $100,000. But we'll get there. The last one is a new item under capital improvement, which is grant matching funds. We had a request from the select board member to include that in the budget for discussion. That would be used if we found a grant that required a local match. We would have some money is available to us and not have to call a special town meeting to appropriate funds. Would allow for the town to move a little quickly. Some of these grants, they seem to not tell anybody about them, and they come out March 1st, and they tell you have to apply by the end of March. And you need to make sure you have some local match to go with it. And so, can you tell us a little sooner? So that was kind of the theory behind it.
Is it?
I don't know. I don't know what the,
It depends on the grant.
Well, I know, but if you think about everything anybody does is major money and
Yeah.
grant match.
Yeah.
So to speak.
That will be an interesting discussion and debate amongst the select board members as we move into February 23rd and then March 9th.
Yeah.
It really, grants vary from 100% grant to the more you contribute, the more likely you are to get the grant. Because they're trying to spread out the money as best they can, so.
Is this meant to be a new line item that will be carried forward from now on in the future?
Yes,
Will that
any of these items in the capital improvement plan, the article would be set up to basically establish a reserve fund. And once the reserve fund is established, assuming the voters appropriate money, or raise money and then appropriate money, then the select board has the discretion to expend that money for the intended purpose. They can't take fire truck money and fix a solar array. They can't take solar array money to go buy a fire truck, unless they go back to the voters and ask that. But if the voters said, here's some money and you can spend it for solar array, and if something happened to the solar array, then a majority of the select would say, go ahead and fix that, spend money from here. Yes.
So I take it that the grant matching funds in the budget is not targeted to any particular purpose.
Not currently.
Yeah. And at the end of the fiscal year, when it is not expended, is provision been made to put that in some sort of reserve fund?
Yeah, if for the grant matching funds, that would be the article would establish a reserve for grant matching funds. So that we wouldn't ask for 10, get 10, not expend any, and have it roll in the unassigned fund balance, and then ask for 10 the next year. Yeah, I believe the concept is to get a reserve up so that at some point, if we needed the money, it would be available to us. Other questions on capital improvement program? I must have talked too much the other night before everybody out. Turning the page then to page 25, debt service. I think I talked about this a little at the opening on Tuesday night, but the town doesn't have any true debt service, with the exception of voters in 2018 agreed to help the Lincolnville Sewer District with their debt for $190,000, full $19,000 a year for 10 years. This would be the 5th year of 10 payments, and it's pretty close to debt service because the sewer district isn't listening. If we chose not to fund this, our agreement, they would probably sue us and get the money. So, we're gonna pay. Anybody have any questions on the page of debt service? Great. Now we're on to totals and revenues and budget offsets. The total proposed or requested expenditure for FY 27 is $3,259,616. From that, the other revenues and budget offsets would be monies beyond the property tax that we can apply towards this. Boat excise, so if you come in and register your boat, or anybody else that owns a boat, you get charged an excise tax for that boat. It's available to us to reduce property taxes. We're proposing that go from $5,000 a year to $6,000 for this coming year. I think we collected just over $6,200 last year. Vehicle excise. We're proposing $650,000. So when you come in and register your car, excuse excuse me, we charge you an excise tax as well as your registration fee. The excise tax stays locally here with us and can be expended for municipal purposes. Local road assistance money comes from the state of Maine. For part of the transportation budget. This year, that was increased, so we actually received $67,852. We have in bucket. And we don't know what it's gonna be for the coming year, so we're budgeting the same amount, assuming that it's not going to be that. Hopefully, that's a good assumption. Fund balance, been talking several times earlier about what happens to the money if you don't spend it. It goes into unassigned fund balance, as does excess, if there is such a thing, excess revenues. Goes into unassigned fund balance. And the voters can choose to appropriate that money for municipal purposes. We are woefully behind on our annual audits. For lack of trying, but for lack of getting it done. And so we budgeted the same amount, knowing that that is there and available, but we don't know the exact amount. That's unfortunate at the moment. Municipal revenue sharing, we budgeted the same amount. Municipal revenue sharing comes from state of Maine. We have a certain percentage of their revenue with towns. And harbor fees and donations, we charge harbor fees to users, mooring fees, fees for using the dock, waiting list fees, there's a whole plethora of fees. And then the town of Baldboro makes a donation to us on an annual basis because they're a heavy user of our harbor facilities. And so we're proposing currently that we have budget revenues and offsets of $1,804,252, which is 2.2% increase from last year. And then the net to be raised is what is being requested for expenditures versus what we have for revenues, leaves a net. And the net to be raised means property taxes. So when you go to town meeting, something raised and appropriated. Raised means it's coming from property taxes. Appropriated means gives the authority to the select board to expend that money for that purpose. And I will remind everybody that the municipal budget is roughly 14% of your property tax bill. County is about 14%, 72% is education. Any questions on John?
Yeah, do you remember the total appraised property value of all properties in Maine?
The tax in Maine?
No, sorry.
Oh,
In Lincolnville.
Lincolnville's set value this year of taxable property, because we have town properties that aren't taxable, the post office is untaxable. State facilities untaxable is
75.
million.
Yeah,
I could watch.
975, 576.
Ooh, there you go.
Well, I was just meeting with the assessor today and I asked him that question because the state valuation for us was 950 or something like weird like that. It's like 950,950,000. It's in the county budget.
What was that?
How
But
about if I
that's
said
like-
that to you,
yeah.
John? Should
You can just round to 975 million. That was definitely the first three numbers.
And we're estimating that in the upcoming fiscal year that valuation will increase about 10 million for new construction or improvements. that concludes everything I have to say, besides thank you for wallowing through 2 long nights of listening to budget requests. And as you now have a better picture of the municipal request, as you digest this, if you have questions, feel free to call or email or come in, and we'll do the best we can to get you an answer. The select board will be reviewing these in upcoming meetings that are open to the public. If anybody wants to tune in on the live stream or come and sit in the audience and listen. They will be taking input on the budget, and so if somebody in the public wants to come, give them what for first. Always have an item that allows for that. And the goal is for the select board to finalize their recommendations at their March 9th meeting, so that it can be presented to the budget committee on March 10th. No other further questions?
Other than that, I've been developing a spreadsheet that goes back 11 years, showing spending for municipal, county, education overlay, and it's color coded to show increase year over year. It's very interesting to look at. You can see when the bad years have been, when the good years have been. But I'll be circulating that to the rest of the select board here.
Yeah, and how about the budget?
Shortly, and it'll definitely be going to the budget committee as well, to provide some information that way. If there's nothing else, we'll try motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
So moved and seconded, all in favor. We're out of here. Wow.
Stay.
Oops.